Hello and welcome to another episode of Dear Hollow Heroes. Oh my gosh, can I get through one intro without
I
synced it up perfect.
I didn't say it.
Job.
I mouthed it though. It's funny that we all went for that.
Well, first of all, I gotta say I feel honored that it's just stuck in your guys' heads, but
well, you do it so loud.
That is not that loud.
For, 10:30 at night? It's considerably loud.
And I have a headache.
That's your problem.
Yeah, it is, because I had a headache too, and I took a 2-hour nap to get ready for this, and I made meatballs before I got here. So...
Just flexing about a headache?
Just airing his business.
Yeah, it's a burden to have to shoulder so much awesomeness here. Anyway...
Have headaches, take naps, to make meatballs. Just every Italian dad.
The Ben Petrick experience. Alright, this has been a weird start to this podcast.
Coming soon to theater. Anyway, we're going to get straight into the stories. Of course, I'm here with Meek Man Liam Meekum.
What's going on, guys?
And Rose Pierre Rob Kelly.
Hey, that's me.
Alright, all week, the NFL world has been talking about the news that Robert Kraft has already made his decision on head coach Bill Belichick. After the loss to the Colts in Germany, 10-6, in what was a horrific game to watch, the owner had made up his mind to move on from the 8-time Super Bowl champion. Allegedly.
Yeah.
6 as a Patriots head coach. Do you believe this report? And after falling to Kansas City last weekend, does it seem like the end of the line is becoming a reality for Belichick?
Okay, so, one, I think them falling to Kansas City is probably one of the least surprising losses of their entire season.
Yeah.
And shouldn't have been the one that really is the straw that broke the canvas.
Yeah, we should have been talking about this after Germany.
Which, in all fairness, I'm pretty sure we did.
I think we did.
But... it's pure speculation of one of the best head coaches football has ever seen.
The best.
One of, only because I don't want to give, him all of his flowers yet. He's still in the league and still a Patriot.
Okay.
But I don't know how much of this is still... Well, actually, I think you just fire him as a GM.
That's what
Keep him as a coach.
He should be fired.
He should be fired. I think that's the decision.
He should have been fired years ago as a GM.
Yeah, he's been terrible. I think the only draft pick that has been good that I've seen in the last while, that was a early draft pick, obviously, has been literally the last year. Christian Gonzalez, the only one he played.
The verdict's still out.
He's played 4 games.
Yeah.
So I think that is a true statement. And GM.
Does he have any picks? He has a pick, right?
What do you mean?
Christian Gonzalez?
Yes, I think he had 2.
That's good.
He had 2. He had the one on Tua. I remember that one. But I think, in my opinion, after looking at this speculation, I think it's false, first of all. I don't think that he heard that that he made up his mind then. I think he heard, at best, a angered Robert Kraft and said, what am I doing? And, you could see the wheels turning on it because, any owner watching their head coach fall like this year after what was a pretty... Even though a lot of people weren't ranking them high up on the totem pole, in New England, they were ranking themselves high. So
does every team.
Yeah, so when they fell like this, you, as an owner, you'd be a little frustrated, especially after that horrific game in Germany. So I don't think it's true that he's ready to move on, but I wouldn't be shocked if he moves on. And also... I think the Kansas City loss was actually more of a loss for Kansas City's reputation because they almost were down at halftime to that horrific team after dropping 2 straight. And it took just that game actually. As watching that game, watching it from beginning to end, it is just brutal to watch Mahomes' supporting cast.
Yeah, it's
and
maybe the worst in the league.
And I have to say, including Kelsey. He is not playing well.
No.
Nobody's playing well. I'm going to transition a little bit to the Chiefs here. I know the question is about the Patriots, but this is just what's
Please, let's not talk about the Patriots. Let's talk about the Chiefs.
Course, but this is what's been on my mind. I'll watch the second interception. That was to Tavai, the linebacker. And it was a throw that was a drag route, which is one of the most textbook, you just go 3 yards, run sideways, and get open. If it's zone coverage, at one point you're going to be open. Yeah. So he got open in between 2 linebackers. 2 big linebackers, slow. Jawan Bentley and Jelani Tavai. And when he was in between, he caught the ball. And that's one of those plays that you just catch it. I think he was close to the first down, or at least could dive forward, uphill, and he's got the first down. When he did that, He didn't do anything. He was so concerned about getting around Tavai that he caught it, juggled it, and it went right into the linebacker's hands. I cannot believe it.
Well, that's something you see with bad tight ends, but you never see it from Kelsey.
That wasn't Kelsey. That was Kadarius Toney.
You're right. It was Kadarius
Kelsey
Toney.
had also a bad play that I'll describe later, but that was Kadarius Toney. How is that guy still on the field?
Wide receivers should not be dropping balls.
Especially balls like that. Like, they was in
and out of
uncontested. That should not happen. But, I mean, what did you expect when you signed Kadarius Toney? Did they not watch film?
I don't know if it's that they didn't watch film, but it's not like the wide receiver market was spectacular last offseason.
DeAndre Hopkins was available.
True, but most people wrote him off because he's old.
You got to think anything is better than what they got.
Now, my opinion, though, after watching that game, I think Kelsey had a ridiculous flop that wasn't called. He tried to get a pass interference that just was an embarrassing flop. But in that game, I think you can tell that everyone just doubles Kelsey, though. So he's been ineffective, but with good reason, I feel like. So
you got to even look at the drop numbers, though, because there's been a lot of drops.
True. So, and there's also the only receiver that's actually worth anything on that team.
Rashee Rice.
Is Rashee Rice. And he's a number 3. He's a good 3, an okay 2.
Yeah.
And that's what you're working with? And that's your only receiving target that gets open and will actually catch the ball?
Yeah, because MVS can get open, but he's going to drop the ball. Kadarius Toney, once he gets the ball, is shifty, but he can't catch the ball and he can't get open. And I think they have
Sky Moore is
terrible.
He's in my opinion, I think he's a running back. It looks like sometimes.
And it's kind of the same thing with Toney. And so is Richie James. Every receiver out there is there's massive holes in the game.
It's also probably just a thing where when you're on a team, when someone's playing real bad, it can be contagious. You know, especially, let's say Kelsey is just having a down year and he bounces back next year, which is totally possible.
It is, but with his age, maybe not.
I understand that, but he's still Travis Kelsey. It's not like he's let us down this many times in a single season before, right? He's still one of the best tight ends in the league. Sure, this year, not necessarily this year, but still in general with his career. And if all the receivers are looking to him as their number one guy, like, you know, even if you're the number one receiver, Mahomes is looking to Kelsey first every single time. And if he's having a down year, you're looking to one of your leaders on the team having a down year, and it kind of stumbles down. It trickles down.
Yeah. And you also got to look at maybe it's coaching. Maybe they're not stressing catching the ball. I don't know. It sounds ridiculous to say, but maybe there's just some kind of disconnect. I don't know.
And I know we're getting so off topic off this question because we all can just agree that report, no way it's true, and we all think he has to be. It could be, but doubtful. But we all believe that he should be fired as a GM, shouldn't as a coach, but it's 50-50 if he will be.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he
we wouldn't be surprised, but also we wouldn't be surprised if he stays, right? So we're all on the same page on that.
You know what would surprise me? Is if he's fired as head coach but kept as GM.
Imagine that.
That would be the funniest option.
That would be the worst option. But this is something I also, speaking of, because we're going to stick to the top stories now, just a bunch of football teams. But so we have this struggle with Kansas City. Let's look at the other Super Bowl team. On Monday night, my goodness. First of all, my favorite Seahawk, Julian Love, played so well.
Giants legend Julian Love.
Yes, I love I need that Seahawks.
He got the start because
Jamal
Adams was a healthy scratch.
Yes, and look what happened.
Yeah.
He played better.
I absolutely played better. Not a question.
So, what do you think? So, who do you think is having a worse little stretch here? Do you think the Chiefs receivers messing with Kansas City's mojo? Because the defense in Kansas City is phenomenal. Or just the what's wrong with Philly? Like
Kansas City is more concerning to me.
Because I don't know.
Philly, I think, is still a very good team, and they will probably show that in the coming weeks.
A big issue that Philly has is that they're leaving their defense out for too long on the field. When they're on offense, they're not having long drives. If they're having a scoring drive, it's quick. And if they are having a long drive, it's at a pointless time in the game where the defense still isn't getting enough time to rest because then they'll just punt or it'll be a turnover, some sort of fumble or interception. The reason I think Philly's struggling is because, one, their defense is just gassed. They're playing more than any other team in the NFL. And I'm pretty sure they have the most minutes played as a defense in the league right now.
Wow.
If you want to double check me on that, you can. But
I believe you're right because I saw that stat too, I think.
Okay, so...
We're not 100%, but I think he's right.
Either way, I don't know. It could have been changed this past week, but
regardless, it's up
before
there.
This past week, it was. And the offense isn't clicking on all cylinders.
No.
The line isn't struggling per se, but Jason Kelce keeps getting a whole lot of false starts. He has, I think it's 4 in the last 2 weeks.
Does he?
I know he had one last night that was really rough. He had at least 2 last night, at least 2 last
He tries
week.
to move the football forward when he's...
No, last night it was actually he bobbed his head, and they called him on it.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was...
A lot of centers do that, though.
Yeah, it was a weird one that, you can throw the flag, sometimes you can't. It's just one of those ones. And Jalen Hurts has just been inconsistent.
Well, if you remember before last year, the whole thing with Jalen Hurts was he's good, he's accurate, but when he throws the ball downfield, he really struggles. And it's not arm talent, it's accuracy deep down the field. And his 2 picks last night, both deep down the field.
And he likes to throw that ball, too.
He does.
Not that...
He's got a jump ball receiver in A.J. Brown, and a deep threat in, sorry, I'm blanking on his name, Devonta Smith. It's an offense built to go down... Julio's so washed. It's an offense built to go down the field and quickly, but that's also part of their problem because their quarterback doesn't always align with that, and we've known that for a while now. And it also creates these scenarios where their defense is on the field a lot.
So, I have to say, I know this isn't the flaming question, which is going to be a new segment later, but I do have a take that is probably going to be unsettling to some of the listeners is, man, I just don't think that Jalen Hurts is what we thought he was last year. Because I remember 2 years ago, I went to a Giants-Eagles game, to which I saw Jalen Hurts play one of his early starts. And he looks exactly like that player I saw. And that player was terrible. The bad Giants beat him. The difference is he's not making the bad decisions that I'd say a rookie would make like he did. But the level of play, like non-rookie level play,
that'll give you,
is very concerningly similar.
The talent is still the question, not the decision making, because I think he's actually turned into quite a good decision maker.
It's just he cannot make throw the ball deep. He has a turnover problem, and those two are a recipe for disaster in this new NFL kind of format. You can't turn the ball over. Well, you can never turn the ball over, but you got to be able to throw the deep ball with effectiveness because all these receivers get open so far down the field. You got to be able to do that, and with the receiving core he has, that I got to say, not Devonta Smith, but A.J. Brown, who could easily get frustrated. You got to feed him, and you got to feed him down the field. And if you can't throw that ball, it just slowly starts to disintegrate. But I say that now, and then next week he's going to throw for 500 yards.
Of course, this is all very
12
early
touchdowns.
To be quitting on the Eagles.
I know, but my problem is it's like he's made all this money for this long of time, but we see that little kind of like kink that we saw in his rookie year a little bit. And also, you kind of start to think about what the Eagles faced starting into their run to the Super Bowl, which is they didn't face much because, remember, a lot of injury-ridden teams. They barely beat bad teams. They've had a couple convincing wins. Like I will say, they beat Dallas and they beat Miami, which were some good wins. But at the same time, they aren't as convincing as they were last year. But even last year, they weren't crazy convincing when you really look at it. I mean, they were phenomenal. They were the best team record-wise, but the competition hasn't really fully been there. And it starts to make you wonder, if the Niners are healthy, they are the best team in the NFC.
I would argue that, yeah.
They're the best team in the NFC. As long
because
as
the Cowboys have their problems, too.
Oh, the Cowboys are so inconsistent.
And speaking of, I mean...
but before we get to that, are we all good?
I'm good, yeah.
Might as well made the game time Ben's poem, because that was a nice soliloquy there. But it's time for Stat of the Week. On December 17th, Steph Curry went 0 for 8 on his three-point shots. This will end his 268-game streak of shooting at least one three-pointer, making at least one three-pointer that started on November 8th, 2018. The longest active streak now is Damian Lillard with 102 games. Now let's take a look. Let's go back to November 8th, 2018. We were starting our senior year in high school.
We've graduated college at this point.
Yes. And Tom Brady was a Patriot with only 5 rings to his name.
It always has to be about the Patriots.
Of course. And Giancarlo Stanton finished his first year as a Yankee.
Wow.
So, I have to say, that long ago, also back then, we didn't know a thing about COVID. Like, it's been so long since Steph Curry did not make a three-point shot in a game. So, I have to ask this. Where does Steph Curry rank on your list of all-time NBA players?
Well, one, kudos on a streak like that.
That's
in
awesome.
General. That was the start of his age 30 season. He's now 35.
He made a 3 in every game for 5 years.
Yeah, for 5 years. That is
It's incredible.
Insane.
You got to appreciate it because we may never see somebody like that again.
When it comes to ranking on all-time players, it's hard with a player like Steph.
It is.
Because, one, he's one of the best shooters NBA has ever seen. Pure shooters.
Yeah.
He's the best shooter.
The best.
Yeah,
Not
okay.
close.
Yeah, okay, fine. But as long as we can agree. I didn't want to start some controversy.
Yeah, no, it's easy.
But then you look at kind of the rest of his game. He's a good passer. His defense is all right around where he needs to be, but
he's small.
But he's small, and he's not, he's not elite on every aspect of the court.
No.
Which other players have been in NBA history, where you can't necessarily put him in the top 5, but you could argue for a top 10 or 20.
What you do have to look at is his impact on the games that he played was maybe more than any other player. Because when he's shooting that 3 ball and how dominant he was when he was in the game, he was unstoppable. Absolutely unstoppable.
His handles was very underrated.
He made that offense run, and when he was shooting well, every shot went in. We're talking layups, mid-range, panic threes. I mean, everything went
threes
down to
from the logo just because he wanted
just because he wanted to. The amount he extended the range of the defense, like how far they had to play up, just pulled defenses apart. Like, it was so hard to play zone on him because he would space the floor. But then you couldn't play man on him either because if you give him a shred of space, he's shooting the 3 and it's going in.
You don't even need to give him that much space, and
Yeah.
he'll still shoot with someone in his face.
That's why I would say the question for me is less of where does he rank in terms of how good he was. What I look at is who was the most influential player on the game. And he has got to be top 5 for me.
He changed the game
Absolutely.
with the way he shot his threes.
Absolutely. Every kid wants to be Steph Curry, and for good reason.
Most influential players of the game, if you want to make it that list, well, number 1 still has to be Michael Jordan because he made the sport popular. Second has got to be LeBron James because, I mean...
I would say.
And third is where you start to wonder. You could argue Shaq. You could argue Steph.
Well, you could argue, a lot of the older guys that, started the game.
Not really,
but
nowadays.
In my opinion, that's just kind of...
Since 2016...
You got to do it first.
Since 2016, the most influential player in the NBA has probably been Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Just because
since
everyone...
2016, not LeBron?
Since 2016?
Not LeBron?
Since 2016 specifically...
LeBron broke the points record since 2016.
I understand
LeBron made the comeback in 2016.
Was it 2017, 2016?
2016-17 season or 2015-16, regardless.
Yes, but you also have to look at the way basketball has been played since 2016. The amount of people who are attempting the 3, shooting the 3.
If we're talking,
you have bigs now shooting threes. You got players who are 6'7" and taller now willing to practice and take these threes because they know they can change the game with enough of them.
I think if we look at on the court, who affected the game most on the court, it's Steph. Now we're talking off the court, LeBron is more influential. But I mean, it's a new game because of him. And I don't know, it's crazy to hear that the 3-point streak ended. And 0 for 8 too. He was really trying.
Oh yeah.
He was trying to keep that streak alive. But
Here's another crazy question though: is Steph Curry the greatest shooter without Clay? Clay wasn't there.
yeah,
Yes.
But you have another three, like the top 5 greatest shooters of
think
all
you
time.
lose-
They're both there.
you'll lose a good portion of the championships, but you're talking about maybe, and I know this is
There's got to be a little kink to the 3-point
a
percentage.
little bit ridiculous to say just without one player, but maybe you're talking about the greatest player without a ring or like something like that.
You're not. Steph isn't changing his shot because Klay Thompson's not there. If anything, he's taking more. Of it.
I agree. He's becoming more of a scorer.
He's scoring more points. He's making more threes. He probably breaks the 3 record faster without Klay.
True.
Because Klay's taking away
Because
those shots.
there's no reason to pass. The best shot is in his hands every possession.
True.
Now when Klay's on the court, maybe not.
When he's hot, and now he is the best
Except
player
for
on the
maybe
court.
when you had KD also on the team.
Yeah, that's an outlier year. That was just an insane year.
That was just 2 years.
That was one of my least favorite years of the NBA.
The 2 years that KD was there.
Yeah.
The first one or second one?
Not when the Raptors won, when they won.
They won 2 years in a row with KD. It was a 3-year run.
Was it?
Yep.
Was it 3 years he was there?
Yep. He lost they beat the Cavs in a gentleman's sweep the first time.
Yeah, that was
and then
brutal.
they swept them.
That was terrible.
And that was the greatest run I've ever seen by a player for a long time, which was LeBron's 2018 postseason run, just to get swept because J.R. Smith forgot how to handle the ball.
He pulled them through the playoffs just to get wrecked by an unstoppable force.
Yeah, but whoever won the East was just getting slaughtered.
Was just getting destroyed.
Yeah, but anyway.
There was no shot.
It's an immovable object versus LeBron.
Yeah.
But,
And LeBron tried his
and they almost won 2 of those games with just LeBron just carrying. But anyhow, I have to say, after looking at Steph Curry's career, he's not the best point guard of all time. It's still Magic, but he's second. I'd say he's the second greatest point guard ever. Is there anyone else you could think of to rival it?
I would say there's an argument he's won.
Over Magic?
I would say there's an argument.
There's an argument, obviously.
I think Magic was a better all-around player.
Yeah, in today's league, I go with Steph, but all time, if it was just rules of all time, you'd probably Magic has got to be probably.
Yeah, I mean, there's question marks.
There's question marks.
There's question marks, man. I don't know.
Steph's better offensively, but
I would need to really look at the numbers.
Steph's better points-wise, but Magic's better as a passer. He's better defender.
Pretty much everything but shooting.
Yeah.
But how big is the shooting?
Exactly.
Huge.
Also, I think just points in general, Steph's better, but everything else, Magic's better.
Yeah.
But congratulations to Steph on a run.
And make sure you guys stay tuned next week. We will have Steph Curry on the podcast to play some games with us.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine we pulled him mid-season?
Well, he ended his threes record, so he doesn't really need to practice.
Retired.
He doesn't need to practice.
He's starting a new one today.
Fair.
He's already made a 3 in this game. I just double-checked. They're playing the
Celtics
right now.
Like how Joe DiMaggio hit 56 in a row, right? 56, and then decided to missed one and then hit 30-something in a row. So he's going to go do something similar.
No, he's just not going to miss a 3 till he retires.
Damian Lillard
At the ripe old age of 49.
Damian Lillard has to go play an entire season and a half, without stopping. Play every single game for a season and a half, and he'll be close.
And make at least 1 3.
And make 1 3.
He won't be close. He'll still be about 100 off.
268. He has 164. 166. Yeah. Sorry.
Quick
That's
maths.
Two full seasons he has to go without missing his 3.
I didn't know if we were going to get through that.
Yeah. Stat of the week really kind of messes my brain after a while. So I can't math after stat of the week.
Yeah, when you start stat of the week, the math is thought to be already done, but once you bring up more new math, shut right down.
It's over.
Well, let's get to the flaming question.
Can we call it the burning question?
No, shut up.
He shut you down so fast.
I was ready.
It's called the flaming question.
Why?
Because I said so. The Buffalo Bills slaughtered the Dallas Cowboys 31-10 last Sunday. Dallas falls to 10-4 and 3-4 on the road, while the Bills improved to 8-6 and they are on a bit of a hot streak. Are you more impressed with Buffalo or more concerned for Dallas? Also, a reminder, we did say a couple weeks ago that if Buffalo would only need to win one of the last 2 games they won in the past 2 weeks, and Miami would just need to lose one, which happened, for them to have a shot at not only the playoffs, but the division. And it is wide open now for Buffalo.
I don't know if it's wide open. It's still an uphill climb because they are sitting at 9th in the AFC.
And they still are 2 games behind Miami in the division?
But look at the last 3 games. I think Miami has Baltimore and Dallas to face. I think Buffalo has New England and... Well, first of all, it's an easy win. And they have another easy win.
Chargers and...
Yeah, that's 2 wins.
Should be.
You're looking
you
at
can't
now,
guarantee anything.
You can't guarantee anything, but let's look at it logically. Unless they completely mess everything up, which is possible.
Which
is possible.
We've seen.
But let's look at it optimistically here. 10-6. I think Miami could maybe split, but they could easily go 0-2. 0-2 in that run. You're looking at, even if they lose 1, you're fighting for the division in last week.
Or would they have the same record?
It would be a 1-game lead. All they need to do is be 1 game behind Miami.
No, because I think Miami would still have the tiebreaker, no?
No, because it's a battle if they face off again. Then
No, it's a conference. It goes to a conference record.
Conference record is favored Miami? In that regard?
I don't know. I know the Bills' conference record is nothing right
Is
home
it conference record first or is it division record first?
That's what I meant, division record.
Division record? So Miami swept New England.
I have it up right here.
They're undefeated. They're 5-0.
They should
Miami,
be, right?
No, Miami is 4-1 in division. Buffalo is 2-2.
Did they lose to the Jets one time? They did.
Yes.
There you go.
Miami lost to the Jets?
Yeah.
No, Buffalo lost to the Jets.
They both lost to the Jets.
No. When did Miami... Literally, no. They never lost to the Jets.
Who'd they lose to in their division then? Let me see.
They swept New England, and...
They lost to the Bills?
They lost to the Bills.
Oh, all right. There you go. They lost to the Bills. But the Bills have also lost to...
New England?
And the Jets.
So it would be tied.
So then I think it goes to conference record.
They have to...
Conference record, Miami is smoking them at 7-3 to 4-5.
Wow.
And that's if those 2 tiebreakers are...
But I think if you beat your team twice, it depends on who's more important.
I don't know if head-to-head matters, though. I think that might be...
I think that's like the last factor.
I think it's late.
Really? Okay. But, so then, but there's still a shot they lose both, though, for Miami.
Oh, no, it's still possible.
They're losing to Baltimore.
I think they will.
I think they will as well, but actually, wait, Miami beat Baltimore last time they faced them. So it is...
When?
Didn't they beat them in the shootout last year to start the season?
Who cares?
It's a giant shootout, yeah, true.
We're talking about 2 different teams.
True. But
We have a whole different defense this
how
year.
are you impressed with Buffalo, though? Do you think Buffalo has turned it all around?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking both of you. Just staring at you.
I'm impressed that they scored this much against the Dallas Cowboys defense. That is one thing that shocked me. You know, they found a way to kind of silence Micah Parsons throughout the game.
Which is shocking.
Which is shocking, especially for how much... what's his face? The quarterback, whose name we said a couple of times, Josh Allen.
Nathan Peterman. Oh, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Case Keenum.
You know, Josh Allen faces a lot of pressures, and Micah Parsons is one of the best in the league at pressuring quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And the fact that they not only could get past that, but dominated past that is really impressive. The thing that is concerning about the Cowboys is that they only put up 10 against the Buffalo defense, which is something we've harped on this show multiple times.
Which is what?
That their defense doesn't help Josh Allen.
Their defense, I think, is okay. I think what we've really harped on is the O-line, which we've talked about is very impressive that they were able to hold up, and the receivers disappearing, which Stephon Diggs did not play well.
Here's a thing that I've also noticed in that game that was different. See, how the Buffalo offense operated was medium passes, sometimes short and sometimes deep passes that were complementary by once in a while a run. You know what they did against Dallas? They ran the ball an absurd amount of times.
And James Cook played really well.
They ran right down your throat, and to beat a good defense, that's one of the recipes. on top of it, to find a new way. I like this new style because Josh Allen isn't forced to do anything. What you're doing when you're making him pass that much is you feel like the game is in his hands. When you put him as a facilitator, look how good he was. He barely missed. He was phenomenal against an elite defense because he didn't feel all the pressure on his shoulders.
Well, that's how Josh Allen really got his start to being an elite quarterback in the league. Was in his first year, you remember, he struggled a lot, and people were about to write him off. And then they were able to work in a lot more play action and get him a lot more easy looks, a lot more design plays to the tight end. They ran the ball more, and he was able to kind of settle into the offense, and then his arm was unlocked when they needed it. And then they kind of got away from that. They were like, all right, we got a really good quarterback here. Let's start slinging it. And it worked to a degree because he started throwing a lot of picks. What they need to do is go back to that original style of football where they're running the ball, they're running a lot of play action, they're getting them in a rhythm for the entire game. And then when they need him come the fourth quarter, that's when you start slinging it. And that's when you say, all right, Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He can go win this game for us. And most of the times, he probably will.
Or at least get it to put it in your defense's hands to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got nothing.
And, all right, so
I started to speak and I just stumbled over my own words too much that
I would also like to say that you guys wrote off the Bills around week 6.
You guys, why don't I write off the Bills?
Specifically him.
Oh, I know it's mostly him.
But you were in the middle. But
I like Miami more. Don't get me wrong.
To win it all,
To win the division.
Neither
win the
of them are winning at all.
the Bills are hot enough right now.
Bills are hot enough to go, but they're not beating the Niners.
They could.
They're not beating. They might beat the Eagles if the Eagles never figured it out and got another Mickey Mouse thing in Dallas. They could
Say Dallas goes to the Super Bowl. Is that impossible?
I mean, nothing's impossible any given Sunday, but I don't see.
But
Buffalo.
who do you like to win it all? Buffalo or Miami?
Who would I pick to win it all? See, Miami. I should say Miami, but my gut's telling me Buffalo.
Yeah, you're dancing around the fact that Miami can't beat good
That's
teams.
not a championship team. It's not. It's just a fun team.
That's all it is.
It's a regular season team. I don't see that as a postseason team. And they can't do anything without Tyreek Hill. It's just offense.
Waddle played good when he was out.
Obviously, because who else are they going to throw to? Braxton Berrios? Yeah, exactly. So, it's a running team, and they played the most destroyed franchise I think I've seen since the Browns and the Jets right now.
By the way, the entire time when I saw the score of the Bills game, I was periodically checking it. The entire time I was like, I cannot wait to come on the podcast and give you guys hell for it. But I've restrained myself.
Because you have a headache?
Yeah, that's exactly why.
All right, guys.
So lucky us, I guess.
It is.
It's not really you either. It's mostly him. I mostly argue with him about the Bills.
No, I'm well aware. I'm stuck between both of you in all of these conversations.
It is game time. And this week we are playing a game. Should they trade or should they stay? We played this once before. I played it with just Rob. So, Liam, this is your first time playing this game. So, I'm going to explain it again. Here I will list a couple players that we will debate whether they should be traded, cut, or stay with where they are. In this game, we are the GM or owner of the organization, and we are making the choice. So you guys ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
And of course, if you guys disagree, let us know on socials, obviously. So, first up, Mike Tomlin.
I think you should trade it. I don't know how you're going to trade a head coach.
You can trade head coaches.
You can trade head coaches?
Yeah.
Bill Belichick was traded to the Patriots.
Belichick was traded.
Huh.
Yep.
I did not know that.
Jets traded it to us.
Yeah, there's very unique trades, like especially when you go back, and I know like older NBA, there were some really unique trades. Like I forget who it was, but one team traded financial advice for a draft pick.
Well, that is
early
crazy.
NBA. Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah, there's some unique trades.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah. But yeah, you can trade a head coach. Okay. Pretty much any asset that your franchise has can be traded. Mike Tomlin, stay.
Mike Tomlin, I have a stay as well. What are you doing, Pittsburgh? Stop turning on him. He's
It's
the
so not his fault.
He's the third best coach in the league.
They
So not
already
his fault.
fired their offensive coordinator this season.
Yeah.
He's the third best coach in the league.
Go draft a quarterback.
He's tied. He's tied for third.
Right now, who's better?
Andy Reid and Bill Belichick.
I would say Andy Reid is.
Then Mike Tomlin?
Yeah.
Right now, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Belichick, there's some questions right now.
That we already discussed.
All time, obviously, it's not close. Belichick's the best. But
Right now, you could argue Tomlin because Tomlin's also younger, so you got him for the long term.
I don't know. I've never had a bad thing to say about Mike Tomlin.
And I would say
I've had a couple.
Well, yeah, you're a Ravens fan. That's a good thing.
Remember when he was on the field and tripped up one of our players?
Fair enough. That actually did not like.
this.
Other than that,
This-
I like the guy.
Other than that, he's a great coach.
These are my head coach rankings. Bill Belichick, because at the end of the day, he has a bunch of scrubs on defense once again, and he's making them look good. So how can you? No one else can really do that.
They're not making him look that good.
Dude, they're the best defense in the league up to
How is your offense?
terrible.
Horrible.
I'm not saying, but to be able to lead them.
No, I get it.
You see my point. But
This conversation's about Mike Tomlin,
but
right?
Let me finish.
It's about the
Then
Patriots?
second is Andy Reid because no one can make a play call like him.
Yeah.
Third is tied in my head with you have Mike Tomlin, you have John Harbaugh, and you could add like Kyle Shanahan around there too.
Mike McDaniels, I think you got to throw in there.
It's too fresh.
Too young. I agree, but
It's too early to me.
I do like him though.
We've been watching Hard Knocks.
No, I've always liked him. That day he was hired, actually, I said this guy's gonna blow up.
Yeah, but I just say he's got to stay. He's got to stay. I don't get what Pittsburgh.
No,
doing.
yeah.
Next up is Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors.
Time to tear down the dynasty.
Cut. You gotta get rid of him. He's terrible.
I think you got to get rid of him, and I think you got to start finding a replacement for Clay.
Yes.
Clay has not been good.
You gotta cut Draymond. Get him out of there.
You need help.
Well,
in Golden State.
Draymond is currently suspended indefinitely.
Yeah.
Cut him.
He's got to go through, what is it, like anger management or something like that?
Yeah. Anger management for being
What is
the
that gonna
biggest
do?
bully on the court.
It's a bunch of boxes to check off. Like,
It
that's
is a
all
bunch
it
of boxes to check off, but even with controversies in the NBA this year, suspending Draymond the most amount of games out of any other player with all the controversies that have happened in the NBA over the past
Who are you
year,
referring
2
to?
years.
But you gotta remember the league handles the stuff on court, and they just follow.
Because who are you referring to?
Well, who is
Ja.
it? They're about to play Ja off the court. They suspended
Ja,
him.
I think the suspension was perfect.
But I don't know
He
if
faced-
indefinite is the right answer. Because you're saying...
I think indefinite is until you are evaluated and have found help. Which
But-
I think they hit it right on the nose.
It's not you're suspended forever.
No.
It's just
I
suspended
know
until
it's
you're
not
Because
that you're
Adam
not suspended
Silver,
forever.
Adam Silver wants him back. I think Adam Silver is actually quite good at these suspensions. He doesn't hand out too many unnecessary fines. I think he is pretty good about suspending players when they need to be suspended, and he feels that it will improve their on and off the court decisions and issues and image. I think he does suspend them, and he suspends them appropriately.
He keeps the brand good and he keeps them happy.
I think he's good at that.
He's fair
Why was now the breaking point for Draymond then?
because it's 3 times in one season. It was usually once or twice an entire season.
Yeah, because
But we're not even in-
Draymond's always had problems with it, but it's always been either not excusable, but you could come up with an excuse, you know what I'm saying? Or it's been less in your face, more sporadic. Now it's like it's a pattern.
It's been once a month.
Since the Jordan Poole punch, it's every day you feel like you're hearing something Draymond did.
Okay.
And he's becoming worse at basketball and worse off and on the court. You know what I'm saying?
No, I understand.
So you gotta get rid of him. I say cut him. I say cut
I don't know
him.
if you can cut him. You got to look into the financials. I don't
Cut
think anybody would take him.
Exactly. Cut him.
Well, you have to see if someone would take it. You gotta
obviously-
shop them first.
Obviously, but
Well, obviously no one's taking him, so you gotta cut him. You can't.
Well,
have
you
that
know,
kind
you
of
never
guy in
know.
your
He could go
organization.
through therapy and become a better player for it, and you could probably trade him off.
Stop playing good cop. Cut him.
If we all played bad cop, this would be a terrible show.
Yeah, but let's all be back.
it's fair.
Right. Number 3, Saquon Barkley.
Well, you can't trade him. So you either got to say cut or keep.
You keep him.
That's tough. Because I love watching Saquon. I think he's a good dude. He's a good giant. Somebody you like to root for. But also, he is a running back, and he is going to need a lot of money.
I think you keep him until you can't anymore. It's as simple as that. And the only reason you do that is because the Giants have had a rotating face of the team, especially at the position of quarterback. You need someone consistent who will be there, whose jersey you can sell, and people know he will show up.
I agree. But
that's Daniel Jones.
It's not Daniel Jones. Someone who will show up and be there every game is not Saquon. His injury history is the biggest question mark for me.
But it's not that he's not... Now, when I said show up, I don't necessarily mean because of injuries.
Yeah.
But you can tell every game he's putting in all the effort.
Absolutely.
And I don't think, as a fan base, when you're looking at players like that, you can necessarily hark too much on the injury aspect, at least from the angle I'm trying to look at it from. Of, you need someone who's on the team, who's kind of the face of the team, and he's your guy. And for the Giants, it's Saquon.
As a fan, I agree with you. But in this exercise, if I'm a GM... I think you got to get rid of him, and you got to build. You got to build for the future, and that hurts my heart to say. It really does, but I think you have to get rid of him.
It's fair to him though, because you're too many years. He's not going to ever see a championship if he stays.
But I mean, he wants to stay a Giant. He does. So if you can get a hometown discount, you take it. But at his projected asking price, it's going to be too much.
I'm on cut. Now a rehash, because he was on the first attempt as well. So he's on the first game of should they trade or should they stay, is Kirk Cousins. Should you trade, cut, or keep him?
It's tough because you got to look at injuries here again. How old is he?
30, almost mid-30s.
You looking it up?
Yep.
Cool.
Here's my thing. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league when he's playing. He has now 2 number 1 receivers on his team.
35.
He has an emerging running back. The defense has been playing really well. You look into next year, you shore up that team, you fix the kinks in your armor, sign him to a 2-year deal, you get a Super Bowl out of Minnesota. You play short term with the talent you have. With short term Kirk Cousins here, if you get rid of him, you have to rebuild. You have to start, develop a whole new quarterback, figure it all out for the next 3 years.
So I would say I do agree with you, but it's a little bit different on the reasoning. I would be so much more on board to get rid of them if they had a decent draft pick. But they don't. They're a borderline playoff team at this point.
They're in the playoff picture right now.
Yeah, but they're on the border.
They're in the wild card though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
know
the
that.
wild card. That's
still the border. Either way, we're on the same page. They're a wild card team. If they had maybe a losing record and they were struggling, get rid of him. But if he comes back, this is a good team. If we see Kirk Cousins as we know him, if he can just get the ball to Justin Jefferson, if he can get it to Jordan Addison, if he can get it to, I don't even want to say Alexander Madison, but sure, we'll go to
Hawkinson.
Whoever's there. Yeah, and
Hawkinson is arguably the best tight end in the league right now.
Hawkinson's very good.
Him and Laporta are going back and forth.
Yeah.
2 Lions.
2 Lions. Who would have thought? Yeah, it's a talented team. Their O-line needs shoring up. Their defense certainly needs shoring up. But I think Kirk Cousins can be your answer if it's for the right price.
I think the only reason you would trade him is if another team asks and you can get a great deal for him.
Well, this is another guy that you would need to do a sign and trade for, kind of like Saquon. So trading's largely off the table because nobody wants to really trade for a 35-year-old quarterback.
Jets would.
Jets would not. They have Aaron Rodgers coming
I know,
back.
but you get the point.
Yeah, but I think Aaron Rodgers kind of hurt that market a little bit. He came in for one play and got hurt.
4.
Now, fine, whatever. But now you see age really can affect your trade value. And he's not as dominant as Rodgers either.
No. And I think you keep him because he's been consistent enough for you. He has this injury.
Locker room guy, too.
Yeah, locker room guy. The players love him,
clearly.
And, I don't think, if you're the Vikings trying to trade him away, if you're saying we want to trade him, you're not going to get anything from him because people are like, why you want to trade away your 35-year-old quarterback?
But you're also not going to get many calls.
But if you do, that's why you would trade him. You're not trading him because you want to trade him. You're trading him because this team gave us a call, and we got a steal for getting rid of him.
Yeah, I don't see it, though.
All right. I think that you should keep him, and I already said why. So, last, and certainly not least, is Bill Belichick. Because he's been the topic
of everything on the show.
You found a way to put him into every single segment.
Every segment.
Not the next.
Every week we come to Ben, we're like, Ben, you know what? We have one problem with the show. Great show. Great job. You talk about the Patriots too much. He goes, you know what? I hear you. I understand. We're going to fix it. Next week I'm going to come back. We're going to talk minimally, if anything, about the Patriots. That's what he said. He said, Liam, I promise you. You have my word. Every week. And every week he's disappointed.
So
I have to
that's
say,
why
though,
we're changing.
You put a skeleton in my bed. So
Huh?
That wasn't him.
That was you?
No, it wasn't me either.
Who did it? Oh, other roommates did it?
Yes.
So I went to a skeleton in my room and said, you know what? Now it's Patriots talk time.
You
There
just
you go.
assumed it was Liam.
Yeah.
Is it that wrong for me to assume that you'd put a bat through a skeleton and then put the skeleton with a bat inside of it in my bed?
All right, this is really weird for a viewer that can't see what we're talking about.
But right next to us is a skeleton with a bat straight through it.
Yeah, no, I had no intention of doing that.
It's a fake skeleton. I feel like we should just add that caveat. They got it. It was bought at Target.
Now you got people.
Was it bought at Target?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Pretty high quality for.
How much does that cost?
Now we're really getting off topic. Trade Bill Belichick.
Trade? You say trade?
Yeah, sure. Get something for him. They're not happy with him anyways.
Caught him.
Caught him.
What's he done for the team recently?
What's he ever done?
All right. Can I just give you a hypothesis really quickly? Because
I assumed you would.
so hear me out. So the Chargers, I think, have like the 7th, like a top 10 pick, right? And the Chargers are in need of a head coach.
You're not getting a top 10 pick for him.
Now hear me out. I would only accept this trade if this would happen. Bill Belichick for the first round pick this coming draft. And hold on.
Yeah.
Let me finish.
Okay.
And he wants to draft
first.
Marvin Harrison and a quarterback.
Yeah. That
I knew what he was going to say already.
I have a
Drake
question.
May passing to Marvin Harrison Jr. to the end zone. Touchdown Patriots in 2024.
I understand that the concept of this is that we are the GM, but I have a question for you.
What?
If you trade Bill Belichick, who's the GM in trading him?
I said or owner.
I understand that. But does he keep his GM job if he trades the coach version of himself? These are the questions you need to ask.
He's the GM,
He's the GM of the Patriots, but the head coach of the Chargers?
A little bit of a conflict of interest.
I would love to see that.
Bill Belichick trades Matt Judon to the Chargers for cash considerations. Jeez, I'm crow. That'd be funny.
There it is. That's bingo.
Alrighty. Well, I apologize for the massive Patriots talk that I'm getting crapped on for. But that'll end game time. And
Did I win again?
no one wins in this one. I gotta say though, I did a little bit of stat keeping, stat time part 2. You've never lost in a competition, Liam.
I did. I was aware. Yes.
That is.
We've had some close calls. We've had some really good battles.
Yes, last week was the closest it's ever been.
No, there's been some good ones. Yeah, there's been
Yeah,
some
thanks,
very
man.
good
I
ones.
appreciate that.
You got to step it up because we got some locks and upsets we're going to talk about, but soon. But first, we have comment time. All right, now I got a couple of comments here that are fairly controversial, but I'm going to lead off with a little special comment that I'm going to ask is from Neve. Neve, what comment do you have?
Now, I don't know much about sports, but I view fantasy sports as the male version of like a middle school girl playing a dating sim. The only difference is they're allowed to put money on it. That's all I know.
That wasn't a voice recording. She just was here. Could you imagine if they're all voice recordings?
The male version of a dating simulator.
Like, I get it.
It makes sense.
Can I ask, what is a dating simulator?
What do you think a dating
It's just
simulator
kinda
is?
Figure it out the way.
Well, I got
sounds.
the gist of what it probably is about.
So
but
there you go. There's your
that's all
answer,
you need
right?
to
Like
know.
that's just it. It's just
I
that's
would
the game.
assume it simulates
That
dating.
is the most. I'm sorry, but that is the most boring game that could ever possibly be. Can you like get into fights in the dating simulator?
How
like,
would I know?
I'm like,
Do you think I'm playing?
can you get married, get divorced, and take the kids? Get out of here. That's actually, you can do all this
Yes.
stuff. I'd be the most
You guys
toxic.
have never heard of Mystic Messenger before.
I would be so toxic, bro. I would cause the most dramatic crap. Sorry.
Well, that's what you're doing in our fantasy league right now. So
True.
Case in point, right there.
Sorry, guys. And speaking of fantasy league, I'm sorry, guys.
I think the money aspect is a big part of it.
Yeah, well, it depends, because not all of them are for money.
Not all of them are for money.
I think the ones that aren't for money are the ones that are closest to the dating simulator game.
Yeah.
Only because you're doing it for the pure joy of it all.
No, because about competition too, but you can argue that in the simulator.
But also, all
What's
the best
competitive
parts of
in
the
the simulator?
simulator
You wanna
pay
win.
for.
How do you win? Get married. You know?
Having like the good life or whatever,
But is that
or
winning?
or winning the
Or
kids.
is money winning?
Depends on your choices.
Dang, this is a really deep conversation.
Yeah, we got a real thinker of a comment here. I'm gonna say maybe, as my wise
That's the most
thought out
gray
answer.
area answer.
I'm gonna
on.
say, well, hey, I'll elaborate. I think potentially it could be, depending on certain things. I'm gonna say maybe.
I think it is so similar just because of how many people will say they have their hearts broken by DeAndre Swift or by Travis Kelce. Like, people are so emotionally involved with their fantasy
Okay, that's a
football
good
teams.
argument.
That's true. I'll give you
That's
that.
a good argument.
That actually convinced me because I was gonna say no, but I was like, that's true. Because even when my team sucks, I get emotional.
So
about
you're
my
gonna
players.
stick with my firm gray area?
No, I'm going yes.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
flipped him completely.
Flip me completely because I was like, what reason do I have for no? And I was like, well, I actually have a really good reason for yes. So, next comment is by Javier. Javier said, Derek Jeter is not deserving of all of his gold gloves. There are so many better defenders than him.
So I'm just gonna say this off bat because I don't have too much to talk about here. I have heard this before. I've heard this a couple times before, and I've never had the honor of watching Derek Jeter really. Maybe here and there, but I don't know. I would like to hear the non-biased answers.
All right, let's start with the most non-biased Yankee fan in the room, Rob.
So Derek Jeter, if there
Is the
wasn't
greatest defender of all time.
no, he's
Never
not.
misses.
He's not, and I'll admit that he's not the best defender of all time, but he is still one of the greatest shortstops of all time, and his defense is a major part of that game. His range was some of the best you could see from a shortstop. He dove into the stands. He made plays in the outfield. One of his most iconic plays is the flip towards home plate where he covered from short to the foul side of the first base line to flip the ball to the catcher. And he had the awareness to make these plays. He had one of the best IQs of a shortstop
That's what I was
baseball has
gonna agree
ever
with.
seen.
Didn't he
His
also
brain
have
was
a
one.
decent amount of errors though?
Yes, but
His talent wasn't there, but his IQ made up for it. And he
you
had
play
the
20
best.
years, you're going to have a decent amount of errors.
Okay.
He was a very smart defender, and I think that's why he is not anywhere near close to the worst.
Now, I understand that, Javier, thank you for listening to the show, even though you're a hater on Derek Jeter.
He's an Astros fan.
Oh, Javi, I'm so sorry. Anyway,
Just-
also, one thing I just want to say, Gold Glove has almost never really been about defense.
Gold
if
Glove-
you look back at who's won the Gold Gloves historically, it is almost never
the
actually about
Gold
defense.
Glove is the biggest sham of an award of all time.
Yes, and it feels like it should mean so much.
It sounds like it.
Who does it go to?
Whoever.
It's whoever. It's whoever looks decent at defense, because most of the people who give out these awards, there aren't really stats for defense besides errors and outs made.
It's such an eye test.
And that's exactly what it is. And it's whoever passes the eye test.
And a name is always going to get it over a no name.
Exactly. And it's the stuff like, you're going to have Derek Jeter, who will play as many games as he can, play 157, 150 games every year, and he will be at shortstop every single time, and he will make those high IQ plays every time. Now, is he going to make the tough plays where it's a bullet right to his right and he has to die for it. Not necessarily, but if there's a play you have to think about it for even half a second, he will do better than any other shortstop at that.
Fair enough.
I say, yeah, I agree with Rob. I think he's not deserving of probably all of his Gold Gloves, but I also believe that he is the smartest defender in his generation, if not one of the best, and IQ-wise. But also, he is very much he wasn't the talent that a lot of these shortstops have fielding-wise. He wasn't fast like that. He wasn't the, like, flashy glove and, like, cannon arm. But he didn't make that, like, wrong play. He never costed his team that often.
Just real quick, just because I wanted to see... So Fangraphs is one of the biggest sites for baseball for statistics. And here are just a couple of names that they place over Derek Jeter. And this is when he won most of his Gold Gloves, if not all of them, between 2005 and 2010. That's when he won the most of his Gold Gloves. Some names above him: Orlando Cabrera, Alexi Ramirez, Elvis Andrews, Juan Urbay, Miguel Teja, Carlos Julian.
Who?
Exactly. Now,
I knew where his point was. That was helping.
It's fair enough.
So it helps that he's Derek Jeter, the New York Yankees.
Yeah. No, it certainly does.
Well, next comment we have is by Cindy, who is my mother. And
Did we just skip the middle one?
yeah, that's for next episode. The next comment is by Cindy, and she said, any team that is under 500 should not be allowed into the playoffs. They are not a winning team. Also, why would a team that was 11-5 miss the playoffs for an 8-8 division winner? 2008 Patriots and Chargers. So, like, that's when the Pats went 11-5, missed the playoffs because the Chargers at 8-8 got in. Which I've seen before with the Panthers, like 8 and like
They got in with a losing
7,
record.
8-1 got in, and like a winning team didn't.
Now I understand, especially if you're a Patriots fan and that happened to you and you missed the playoffs like that. You had a better season than them. It sucks, but I enjoy that aspect of football personally, and it's more of an opinion thing than anything. I just like that there's a little bit of variability in who makes the playoffs. You have to find your way into the playoffs.
Yes.
There's different ways to do it. You can win your division. You can sneak into the wild card. You can be one of the best teams in football and still have to go through the wild card, just like you're going to see the Cowboys or Eagles have to do. There can only be one team that wins the division. If you handle business in your division, you get a playoff berth. And I personally enjoy that. I totally see the other argument.
Something that I think is really fun, I'm agreeing with Liam here, is that there's always going to be a worse team to make the playoffs. No matter what sport, no matter what year, there's going to be a worse team in the playoffs, at least record-wise. But then, that team could go on to do great things.
Absolutely.
We saw it just in this last World Series with the Diamondbacks going all the way to the World Series while having one of the worst records in the playoffs. It's just part of the sport that adds excitement.
A little bit of a question mark, yeah.
A question mark, some excitement, because once you hit those playoffs, it doesn't matter if you're 5-11 or whatever your record may be, you can still win every game.
You got to do what you got to do. And just like we'll use this example in 2008, Patriots missed the playoffs at 11-5. Yes, they probably on paper should have been in the playoffs. But what they didn't do is they didn't win their division. That means they probably lost some big games in there. And they were not able to win the games that they absolutely needed to win. And the Chargers, even though they were 8-8, they did enough to make it in the playoffs. And personally, I enjoy it.
I see your reasoning, and that 2008 ideal, I agree. If you at least go 500, if you are under 500, you are 7-8-1, and now you can be 8-9. No. I don't see... It's a winner's bracket. It is for winners to be in there. You did not win more than you lose. You're not a winning team. Why are you in? If you're 500, fine. If you won the division. But if you win the division under 500, you are a loser. You lost. A winning team should be in there. The winner should be there, not a loser.
I have to disagree with you. I don't think
But
you
then-
can. I don't think you can scrap the whole system
Well, you
just for a
can't.
couple of years.
It's not changing. It's not changing. But my thing is, I agree with that they shouldn't. I really agree with the thought that it's lame. It's lame that a team that's a loser goes into the winner's bracket and a winner has to sit out because the loser beat the other losers. Because the loser beat the really bad losers, which is basically NFC South every year recently. Except for 2015 and 16, it's been the NFC South. Actually, I take that back.
It varies every year.
There's
There's
been-
different
yes,
divisions.
there's the
Let's,
NFC
let's
least.
not harp on
But
which division.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think something that not the divisions are what makes football so fun, because you have all these divisional rivalries, you have all these games that matter because they're in divisions.
Mm-hmm.
If the Ravens played the Steelers every year, twice a year, and those games didn't matter because only your overall record counted,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be
It
one
wouldn't
of
be
the
the
best
same
rivalries
rivalries.
in football.
So you take the good with the bad. You get the great rivalries. You get the games that really make football, and sometimes bad teams sneak in the playoffs.
And
But-
And
those,
they will be weeded out. If they truly do not deserve to be there, they will not advance.
They always get destroyed.
And if they truly deserve to be there and truly have a shot to win the Super Bowl, they'd be in the playoffs.
those are the games that matter most, the division games.
I could see your point with the division games and things like that. I can't stand when a team that just lost. You can go make the playoffs at 6-11.
You can make the playoffs at 1-17 or 1-16.
That's impossible because you have to.
Fair
win.
enough. You have to win. You would have to win 4,
Do you think you have to win 4?
maybe 5. But yeah,
3, because if you split, everyone just split with each other.
yeah.
You can win.
There
You
you
can
go.
get in
You can get in with 3 wins.
3 wins.
Yep.
3 wins and score more points than them.
Yep.
So, I think that's terrible, but
But does that team have a shot to win the Super Bowl?
no.
So then, what does it matter?
That the team that potentially did have a shot to go to the Super Bowl. I
They
know,
should've
don't get
played
me
better.
wrong. 2008 is a bad example because Tom Brady wasn't even on the team. So they probably didn't have a shot to win the Super Bowl.
I think it's funny that even in the comments, we found
Um,
a Patriot segment.
The fact that he hasn't brought up Bill Belichick yet is
Yeah.
really the icing on the
and it
cake.
just shows how great of a coach Bill Belichick.
You gotta applaud
There it
Bill
is.
Belichick.
Of course,
We're done. All right.
that's
we're
actually the
going on.
Belichick sweep, as we like to call it, in every
If
category.
I mention him in locks and upsets, it's.
I'm taking the Patriots this week because Bill Belichick.
All right, so locks and upsets gonna be a little bit different. Before we get into it, I want to say that next week's episode will not be about the Patriots. It will be game time all the time. It will be our holiday episode where we do a final showdown of a bunch of games played. There'll be 1 new game and 4 old games. There'll be the showdown for who is the champion at all of these games that we play. But our locks and upsets this week, our final locks and upsets, and we'll announce the locks and upsets champion next week. And I won't mention the totals at all for this week. Our locks and upsets will be about the games next week.
Okay.
So, who wants to go first on their locks?
Okay. Do I have to pick an individual game from
Whatever
next
you want.
week?
It is whatever you want.
Can I look at what the games are? I don't.
The games.
Is that allowed?
No. So game 1.
Can you tell us what the games are?
Game
please?
1 is going to be called. I already forgot. Game
you
1
also
is
have
going
the
to be.
paper?
Game 1
You
is
can
gonna,
look.
Game 1 is called What's Their Journey. Game 2 is Through the Numbers. Game 3 is Top 3. Thought that was fitting. Game 4 is a grid, impossible grid, and Game 5 is ball.
I'll win game 4. That's my lock.
You're gonna win grid.
Yeah.
I hate to be that guy, but you took my lock.
You're not gonna bet on yourself?
Well, I was going to pick myself for the upset. Because, as Ben pointed out before the show, I haven't won.
Liam is,
I am the upset
Oh my
here.
God.
Liam
dude.
is favored in every single one.
I think through the numbers, I have Liam as a lock here. I'm going to pick that instead of the grid. And since I'm just going to say what my upset is here, I think I'll upset him with the grid this time.
Okay. All right. Got a lot riding on that grid now.
Well, I was just going to it would really depend on what your lock was going to be. I was just going to pick the opposite pretty much.
Okay.
My lock is Liam gets 3 wins. Liam
My
wins.
upset is I get 4 wins.
Yeah, that's probably is a. I'd say that's an upset.
Can I put an extra $10 bet down that he just sweeps me? I'll still try. I'm not Pete Rosing this. Like, I will give it my all. But I keep losing.
My upset.
He made him harder next week.
My upset is Rob wins. Rob wins through the numbers. So Rob's gonna try. It's just the odds are stacked in his favor.
Even the one game I came
Did you-
closest to winning, I lost in overtime.
Did you bet on him for the one game he said I would win?
Yeah. But also, he just fully believes you're winning grid. Grid is probably the most.
I'm good at grid.
The grid's gonna be the toughest hill to climb for Rob.
Oh, can I add a third lock here since I already had an extra? Ben will just talk through all of the games.
Another lock. Ben will mention the Patriots despite it not being an episode where we talk about anything other than games.
I can imagine the grid not even having a New England team on there, but it'll bring up, you could have put Bill
or
Belichick
better
in that
yet,
square.
they're all just New England.
What's their journey? And they're all just doing it from this time period to this time. Just life. Okay, I'm done talking. All right. I could go on for
He was
hours.
going to start talking about life? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he read the Robert Kraft autobiography and he's never stopped talking about it.
Oh my God, he hasn't.
So in page 4, all right. I would like to thank you all for listening. You can follow us on our socials at Deer Hall Heroes. You can also email us to deerhallheroes@gmail.com. Message us and let us know what you think of the topics we discussed, or take of your own. Listen to us on most platforms where you get your podcast. Thank you, Liam and Rob, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.
Tune in next week.
See you later, alligator.